What's up, Share Nation? I am so excited for today's call. Basically, I'm chomping at the bit just to shut up so that I can get my notepad out and take notes. But today we have an incredible guest who is a friend of mine and has sort of been a tough love coach for me, just in a success partner, peer-to-peer kind of a way. And she has added so much value to my business and my leadership and my mindset. And I'm just so grateful that she is going to, that she took the time to speak to us today. So today, it's my pleasure to introduce Jace Lundgren. She is one of my favorite coaches and favorite people in this entire network. She is an all-star legend, 40 consecutive months in Success Club, which means that come the first of the month, she is making a decision no matter what to reach that goal, not waiting for people to message her or hoping or wishing or trying to make that happen. She has set out. She is an 8-star qualifying coach, a 2015 premier coach, and a Orlando Market Council member, alongside myself and my husband, now with her husband, who recently has retired from his incredible job to be home and build this business with Jace together as a team. So before Jace gets started, guys, take notes. This is the kind of a call that honestly I will be rewatching over and over and over again because Jace has such a refreshing perspective when it comes to this business. When it comes to her challenge groups, when it comes to the title coach, she doesn't take it lightly. She is not one of these coaches that sells and sells and sells and doesn't help. She takes her team all the way. She takes her challengers all the way. And she has a huge heart when it comes to taking that role seriously. But conversely, she is so rooted in reality. And that's what I love about her, because she doesn't sugarcoat things. She says it in love, and she doesn't accept excuses. And I know that I need that right now in my business, but I think so many of you guys who are setting the goal to reach Emerald, hit Success Club consecutively, month after month in your business, and reach financial goals, you need to hear this too. So Jace, thank you so much for being on this call, and I'll let you take it away.
Wow, that's quite the introduction that I wasn't expecting. One thing about me is I'm super uncomfortable with recognition. So whenever I do these guest calls or I have to do market council stuff, I just want to crawl into my hole and die. But it's fine. Everything's fine.
That's great, because we have so many introverts on our team, so I think it'll really help that they know that.
That's good, because I'm going to help you understand why recognition is so important, even if it doesn't really speak to your heart. Like, you don't need that to be motivated and drive forward. It's still important, and there's very specific reasons why. So I do want to talk about that, and I'll touch on it. So I'm going to talk to you guys today about rank, your favorite thing in the whole wide world, right? The thing that everyone loves to hate. There's so many different trainings and perspectives and thought processes out there with regards to rank. And I really try and teach this with my team as, I try and really keep it as like a business task, rather than it is a goal and it's something that you strive for and it's something that you gain a lot of recognition for and momentum for and all these awesome things. But I want you guys to really bring it down to like a reality level today and why it's important to you. So if you have a notebook, I want you to ask yourself a few questions. You can write these down if you want, and as I kind of go through this little discussion that I've planned for you, I want you to think to yourself what the answers to these questions are. So if you don't have answers to them, then after the call, I want you to study the questions and I want you to find answers for them, because nothing in this business naturally happens. Nothing. Not rank, not Success Club, not the invite, not conversations, not approach, nothing. Every single step of success in almost every category is calculated and created. It's not just something that's going to come to you if you wish it, right? You have to create the avenue and for it to happen. And so even with your inviting, with your marketing, with your branding, with your social networking, you're doing it for a reason, right? You're doing it so that you can build your business. But if you're not focused on what you're building in your business, which is rank, income, success club, all of these business goals, right? Then all of your social media and inviting is going to kind of fall flat or plateau at a certain point, and you're not going to be able to move forward. So what I really like to do is just bring everything into perspective, because every business aspect is directly related to another one. So we're going to talk about rank, and I want you guys to ask yourself a couple questions. First of all, number one, what does rank mean to me? Not what does it mean to the network, not what does it mean to all the other coaches, not what does it mean to my sponsor, what does it mean to me? Why do I want to advance and rank? What's my purpose in doing that? What is it going to get me if I decide to advance, right? There's got to be an answer to that question. Otherwise, there's going to be no drive to get there, right? If you don't know why you're doing it, just like with inviting, challenge groups, helping your customer get results, like there's always a reason why you're pushing so hard to do it. And our business goals are no different. There has to be a reason why. So why is rank important to you? Number two, based on your own personal and financial goals. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a second. Number one, what is your personal goal, right, that you're working on this year? And number two, what is your financial goal? If you don't know what those two things are, that's a study after this call. I need to identify that, right? Based on your personal and financial goals, what is my minimum starting point going to be? Okay, this is one that you'll probably have a great answer for at the end of the call, because you're going to know better what you want to do and what you're going to need to do in order to reach it. Okay. The third one is, why do I personally need to advance in rank in order to achieve my goals? Okay. This is one that I think is overlooked so much. I think, it's so embedded, get to diamond, get to diamond, get to diamond, that you don't even realize why you're doing it. And there's no really, this is what's going to happen when you get there, other than you're going to get this big title and everybody's going to say you're awesome. And it doesn't always reflect what kind of coach you are. Your rank doesn't affect your impact all the time. And so what I like to do is really help you understand that rank can help you create a broader impact. It can create a lot of other avenues and exposure and networking and recognition in positive ways that are going to help you affect your income, which are going to help you reach your goals, your personal goals, your financial goals, and keep you going forward in this business. So why do I personally need to advance and rank? That's what I want you to answer. And then the very last one, do I want my coaches, right, to push for bigger things like 5-star and elite? Do I want my coaches to reach and go for it all? Or do I want them to just sit at Emerald, right? This is a really important question, because rank, and this is how I'm going to bring the whole recognition thing together, is for me, advancing in rank, there's a couple reasons why I do it. Number one, first and foremost, my own personal goals. I will always go to those first, no matter what, because that's what I'm trying to accomplish in my life, right? There's always a reason behind each rank advancement for me personally. And then also, there's a reason why I'm pushing for it for my team. Because for me, again, I don't like being the center of attention. I don't like being in the spotlight. However, I love it when my coaches are. And I love it when I'm able to represent my team. And I love to be able to create momentum with them and show them that they can do big things. And I realized that long ago, that for me to sacrifice these areas that I'm uncomfortable in, like recognition, like having to be, a face forward for my entire team and organization, the sacrifice that it takes on me being an introvert and having to be kind of out there is so worth it, because it shows the people that I'm working with that there's bigger things to grasp, that they can go farther, that their goals aren't just vain ones, that they actually have a path to reach them. And the speed of the leader really is what's going to determine how far your coaches go. So if you're plateauing, either mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, right, your team kind of follows that. They feel that energy and they take that energy on themselves. So that's a really important question when you're thinking about rank. If you don't have a personal attachment to it, but you have a goal to be an organization leader and run a team like Chelsea and Rob one day, then you need to have a personal attachment to it, whether it's for you personally or for your coaches. One way or the other, you're going to have to advance and rank in order to achieve that goal. So we're going to talk about this for a second. I'm going to take you back to when I very first started as a coach, and my mindset. I was over 6 figures of debt. We were living off food stamps in this tiny little ghetto apartment in Arizona. And my goals when I first started coaching was to pay off that debt. Okay. Another goal was to get my husband doing this with me full time, which I never in my wildest dreams thought would ever be possible. And then I wanted to run my own organization. I wanted to be what my coach was to me at the time. And you know, those are some pretty hefty goals as a brand new coach. That's what I was focused on. But here's where the real kicker was. I didn't see myself coaching past a year. My husband was in grad school, and I figured he'd get a job once we graduated and we'd start working the corporate life, and it'd move on and we'd move on, and that would just be that. So for me, the timeline factor is really what changed the pace of my business. And this is why it's so important to have goal dates, because if you don't have a date, it's not a goal. Okay, I want you to write that down. If there's no date attached, it's not a goal. So for me, I was thinking to myself, okay, I have 1 year. And when I did my Getting Started Right call with my coach, I told him that this is what I wanted to do. And he said to me, all right, well, we got to get you to Diamond. That's the first thing he said. He didn't go into any other explanation other than how much you make per cycle, all of that stuff. And I thought to myself, okay, Diamond is the place of most potential. So that's where I have to get. And my second question was, what do you think it was? How long does it take people to get there? Okay. I want you guys to really be careful with this answer if your coaches ask you this, because what he did for me really freed and motivated me. But for a lot of people, it can really pigeonhole them and keep them from reaching their goals. Because what he told me was, it usually takes coaches about 18 months. And why did he say that? Because that's how long it took him, right? That's what he knew. That's where he was at. And so I thought to myself, well, that's not going to work because I'm only going to be doing this for a year, which I didn't want to tell him because I didn't want him to think that I was just going to fall off the face of the earth after a month, or a year after, which is what I was planning. So I basically just kept that kind of myself. And I said, I can't wait that long. I don't have that kind of time. And so instead of stopping and giving up at that point and saying, this is too hard, this is impossible, there's no way I can hit this goal, I decided to go after it. And I made a mental conscious effort to create and calculate my success at every step. And I reached Diamond in 45 days. So now when I tell my new coaches who want to hit this level, or when they're coming into the business and are Getting Started Right call, I have them set their own goal dates. I don't tell them how long it takes, right? Because that is completely determined by you. So regardless of where you're at in your business right now, I just wanted to say that so that you know you can set a date right now. And I don't want you to limit or inhibit yourself with that goal date, because whatever you set, as long as you're committed to it and you create the opportunity for that success, then you'll hit that goal. So it took me 45 days to get to Diamond, right? Which I knew I had to get there immediately. What I think is lacking in the network, and what I really try and help my coaches understand, is why Diamond is the place of most potential. I think whether you're a hobby coach or a career coach, that is where you need to live, right? At that Diamond level. Why is that? Okay, number one, it's because that's the place where you get the most buck for your bang, right? Whatever work you're putting into this business, you're going to get paid the most for that work at a Diamond level. Because diamonds, what do they earn? $18 per cycle. So do 15-star diamonds. They also only earn $18 per cycle, right? So what I thought to myself when I looked at this, and I looked at the rank ladder, and I looked at how much you earn per cycle based on your rank, right? Emerald, you made $14. Ruby, you made $16. Diamond, you made $18. I was like, I want to be paid $18 for my work, right? It had nothing to do with anything other than that. I only have 12 months. I got to make it count. That's what I was thinking. So in the sense of me creating my diamond goal, that's really how I did it. I needed to get to that place of most potential as quickly as possible, okay? Because once I got there, right, and I solidified that foundation, then I could focus on all of these other things. But at least while I was learning, while I was growing, while I was trying to figure out all this stuff, I was at least getting paid for the most of my work, right? And I want to give you guys a little bit of an analogy here, because, and I'm going to give you two. I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm also going to give you an analogy. So think about your day job right now. Like if you guys are working a full-time job, if your boss came to you and said, I will give you a $4 raise if you do this, and they hand you this plan, right, that's got these little tasks on it, and as long as you do it, you're guaranteed an extra $4 an hour, or you're guaranteed an extra $10,000 a year, right? If your salary, if your boss said, if you do this, you got it, you're there. Would you not do that, right? Would you stay at the pay grade that you're at, or would you work to reach that higher level? Some people don't want to, right? Other people would be like, yes, I would do it in a heartbeat. I'm underpaid, I'm underappreciated, I'm underrecognized. I will do whatever I have to gain some ground, right? It's no different with coaching. Rank is your ability to control how much you guys get paid. It's your financial ceiling, or it's your financial freedom. Whatever way you want to look at it is up to you. That can't be defined by your sponsor, by any other coach in the network, by corporate. That is 100% on you. So number one, if you don't have a financial goal, you're going to have a real hard time solidifying a rank goal date and goal. Okay, you have to have some kind of financial goal that means something to you, because rank is a way to build income in your business. Number two, if you don't have a personal goal, right, then how are you going to use rank to help you achieve that? Whether it's through building momentum with your coaches and helping motivate them, right, and doing it for them, or if it's doing it for yourself to really prove, you know what, I've quit everything else in my life. This is the one thing that I'm not going to quit. I'm going to prove to myself that I can just freaking do it. There was a lot of that in my startup story too, of I just need to prove to myself and learn to trust myself. So when I say something, I'm going to do it, right? If you guys could take that income goal and define it right now, this is what I want you to think about in your mind. Is it more, so if you, let's look at it from my perspective. I had $100,000 of debt, okay? It was actually more like $125,000 of debt. And I thought to myself, okay, at every single level of rank, this is another thing which I don't know if you guys know, at Emerald, you cap out at $250 a week. You cannot make more in cycles than that. $250 a week, that's your cap, you're done. Even if your volume equals more potential than that, if you're only in Emerald rank, that's where you're going to sit, $250 a week. And every single week, you're going to waste that volume, and you're not going to get paid on your hard work, right? Once you go Ruby, I think it ups to $2,500. Don't quote me on that because I'm not positive. And then I think at Diamond, you go up to $6,000 per week, right? So even just looking at the caps and looking at your own goal and saying, how long would it take me to pay off $125,000 in debt if I'm only maxing out, right? That's maxing out my rank at Emerald. $250 a week, right? So $125,000 divided by 250, that's how many weeks it was going to take me to pay off that goal. Again, I didn't have that kind of time, right? I needed to get moving. I needed to build fast. I had big goals. And I wanted Beachbody to be that mean to an end. I wanted it to be the thing that helped free my family from this incredible amount of debt. So I had some pretty big financial goals. Does it mean that you have to have a goal that big in order to advance? No. If your financial goal is to simply take your kids on vacation, pay for piano lessons, register your kids for school and take them school shopping and get them clothes that they need, you guys, it can be so simple. If you can put an amount on it, immediately you're going to be able to identify which rank is going to be your minimum requirement in order for you to achieve that in the amount of time that you define with your goal date. Okay, so those 3 things are very critical when it comes to rank. You have to have a goal date, you have to have a financial goal, and you have to really identify where you want to go in this business. If you want to run a business like Chelsea and Rob and hit Millionaires Club and, you know, be on the market council and do all of these things, you can't really do that at an emerald level unless you want to be working towards that for the next 30 years. You've got to really assess your timeline and your goals so that you can start doing the tasks that are going to help you achieve those 2 things. Because at the end of the day, Beachbody is our mean to an end. Is it always going to be your final destination? I don't think so. Maybe, right? For me, I had a 12-month deadline, right? So I got as much freaking done in that year as I could. But what happened was I built this giant machine, this organization, all of these people that I love, that I was responsible for, that I grew passionate about, right? And so here I am 5 years later, still doing this, still going, still advancing, still pushing, because there's always, it's not even you guys just hitting that rank. What it is your followers, your friends, all this branding you're doing, all this marketing you're doing, what are you marketing and branding them for? Like, if you don't have a purpose behind why you're doing all those activities, and second, if you have no value to give them, and that's not, I'm this rank, I'm elite, I'm Success Club legend. No, it's, I'm a person who commits to something and does it, and I'll prove it over and over and over again. People want to follow people who progress, okay? If you're one of those coaches who stagnates and plateaus and is inconsistent, you're going to fall into the category of limbo and every other coach in the network. If you want to be unique, and this is something that a lot of coaches, especially when you're brand new, come into this business, ask me, how am I going to stand out in a sea of 400,000 coaches? Number 1, consistency, right? That one thing, if you guys can nail it down in Success Club with your rank, with you saying you're going to do something and seeing it through to the end, that is going to set you apart, because that's what's going to advance your business. That's how you're going to achieve your goals. And that's what people want to see. They need a role model. They need someone who is doing something and showing them that they can too. But if you're not doing it yourself, forget about preaching that they can too. It just doesn't work that way. So when it comes to rank, I want you guys to really think about that. What does this mean for me? Why am I personally pushing for this? Because I'll tell you, if it was 100% recognition based, this isn't what I would be focused on, right? I want you guys to think about another perspective. And this is one that I teach to my team as well, because I think it's relative to most coaches. I have this little analogy that I call the photographer perspective, because we're all sort of photographers. We do a lot of stuff on social media, and we take selfies, and we edit stuff, and we get really good at making things pretty. But I want you guys to think about yourself as a photographer for just a minute. And let's just say that you were hired by National Geographic to go up into this wilderness and take a beautiful photo of this valley. Okay, and that's your goal. They're going to put it on the cover of the magazine, so every shot counts, right? You get up to the valley and you see this mountain next to it, and you say, you know what? I bet there's a better view if I just climb up that little first ledge, and I take a look, and I could see the whole valley. Okay, so in relation to coaching, this is you pushing to emerald, right? You get to emerald, you get to that first lookout point, and you turn around and you look, and you're right, the view is better. Your perspective has grown. You can see farther, you can see wider. It's a prettier picture. You're seeing a little bit more success, right? But what happens is a lot of coaches say to themselves, this is it. This is the money shot. I'm good here. I'm not going to go any further, right? And they just live at that emerald level forever. Now, I want you guys to think again about your goals, your personal goals. If you're good sitting at emerald level, be good at sitting at emerald level, okay? And what I mean by that is, if emerald is your jam, you better be the best freaking emerald coach that there is, okay? if you are the kind of person that's just a little bit curious, or a little bit, has a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, a little bit more oomph to your goal. There's a little bit more that you have to do in order to reach it. And emerald level is not going to quite cut it. You may turn back around and look up the mountain a little farther and say, you know what? I bet if I moved past those cliffs, right? Moved past those obstacles and climbed just a little bit higher, I would be able to see an even better view. And that's when you go to Ruby. And again, you turn around, you look around at the valley, and you say, you know what? Wow, I'm so freaking glad I didn't stop at that emerald level. This is so much better. There's so much more potential here. There's so much more going on that I can learn from. And you turn around and you're about to take that shot, and you think to yourself, you know what? If I gained this much perspective by just moving up a little bit, if I could just get to the top of that mountain, right? If I could just get all the way to the very top where the clouds are clear and everything, all the obstacles are out of the way, right? I'll be able to see the whole perspective, the whole valley. And you turn around and you run up the mountain, okay? There's people like me who are afraid of heights, who start at a coach level and blaze up the mountain without even looking back, because if they do, they'll fall to their untimely death, right? And then there's people who take steps and one step at a time. This is probably one of the most effective ways to do it. One step at a time. I'm going to hit emerald, then I'm going to hit ruby, then I'm going to go diamond. And then there's people who get afraid and they don't go past emerald, right? Or emerald is where they want to live, or ruby is where they want to live. I will tell you guys, I personally believe, again, regardless of what your personal or financial goals are, I would rather have my coaches being paid for the time, the sacrifice, the energy, the effort that they are putting into this, because you guys know it's so much. It's so much time. It's so much effort. It's so hard sometimes that in order to keep doing this, right, and to show your family that this is worth it, there's got to be some other things besides, I feel really good when I coach. You know what I mean? There's got to be like a legitimate impact that's helping your family, that allows you to keep doing this. I wanted to just talk to you guys about one other thing, and then I'll let you guys ask questions if you have any. I wanted to kind of just go back to your goals. So again, for me, diamond is the place of most potential. It's where you get paid the most amount for the work that you're doing. So when you think about rank, I want you guys to simplify it in your minds, okay? Because there's so many perks that come with it that's so awesome, and you get to celebrate, and you get to be excited, and you get to be proud of yourself, and you get to show your team, look what I did, look what you can do. You get all those things. But at the end of the day, you need to have that goal, right? Every goal that you set needs to impact your larger dream, your bigger perspective. Could Chelsea and Rob do this full time at $250 a week? No. You can't have a mortgage and have cars and feed yourself on $1,000 a month when you've got a family of two, we'll say four, because they have two children that are puppies, and you know, be able to travel as much as they do and train as much as they do and give incentives and do leader trips and do all of these things. Income is something that I want you guys to get comfortable with, because at some point in your career, if you keep going and you keep pushing and you really work towards those goals, there will be a moment where you're going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, earning income by helping people. And I had a very specific moment that I'll never forget, when I looked in my online office and I think that I'd hit like $1,000 a week. That's when I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I had to think to myself and recheck myself and ground myself. Do I deserve this? Like, is this something that I'm just like lucky? Is this something that is not really real and is kind of inflated? Like, did I just chase all the wrong things? And I got to say to myself, no, because I have physical proof that I'm helping people change their lives. And what was that physical proof? It was my transformations, right? My challenge groups, my customers, my family. That is who got me to that point. That's who I put all my effort, my love, my everything into, and we built it. Okay, so at that point, I had this moment of, from this day on, every dollar is going to represent one person whose life was changed by what I'm trying to accomplish every day, by what my team is trying to accomplish every day, by what my customers are trying to accomplish every day. So from that moment forward, I made it a goal to see that number increase every single week. And it had nothing to do with the amount. It was just the simple check. Am I still in this? Am I getting better? Am I creating a bigger impact? Because we're not just here to create income. We're here to create an impact. And everything that you do, right, your income included, reflects your impact. Okay? That's kind of a hard statement for a lot of coaches to get and to really sink in, because I don't think a lot of coaches realize that they're not making an impact, right? There has to be physical proof, right, that's measurable in order to really say, wow, this is the kind of impact I'm having. This is what my team is doing. This is what I'm personally trying to accomplish in my life. It's that proof that helps you guys stay humble, that helps you stay grounded, that helps you remember why you're doing this. Because you can look at your transformation photos, right? This is my latest transformation board that I just finished the other day. I'm creating like a whole wall in my office because every single time I look in the face of one of my challengers, one of my coaches who has a before and after photo, right? I immediately remember why I'm here. And as you move forward and as you grow and as you progress as a leader, you know, that can get muddy and that can get lost. And, you know, you do get a lot of recognition, and you do get a lot of opportunity to teach and grow and do national wake-up calls and speak at Summit and do all of these things. And if you're not careful, you'll lose your purpose. And the instant you lose your purpose, you lose your momentum, you lose your drive, you don't remember your goals, you get off track, you're inconsistent, everything starts to crumble. Okay, so I want you guys to find something that's going to ground you in your business. For me, 100%, it's those transformation photos. And it doesn't matter where I'm at, how horrible of a leader I think I'm being, how horrible I'm doing in Success Club, how many challenge packs I haven't sold, how many income points my income hasn't gone up. Like, that's something that always grounds me and brings me back to square one. It reminds me why I'm doing this, which then helps me remember what my personal goals are, why I'm committed to helping other people do this, right? And it keeps me going with all of those goals. So bringing everything into a very well-rounded perspective is important, and rank helps you guys build income. And when you earn more, you can give more. Okay, that was my consolation for earning income with coaching, because the truth is there is no financial ceiling, right? And when you come from being $125,000 in debt to being able to pay that entire debt off in 7 months, right, with your Beachbody income alone, there's a very real, widespread, black and white sort of situation going on there that you've got to grip your head around. And earning income isn't always a blessing. So you have to really understand what that income is for, why it's there, how it got there, what you did to achieve it, what your team is doing to achieve it. And it all comes back to how good you are at inviting, how good you are at getting your coaches and your customers success, like really duplicating the process and not just posting good content on social media, but having an actual measurable physical reward of that activity. Okay, so the very last thing, and then I'll let you guys ask questions, is when you guys look at your daily to-do lists, I want you to look at them and say, is this business building? Like, is this actually creating impact? Or is this just something I'm doing because it makes me feel good? If you guys can start focusing your energy and your effort on growth and progression and value and really doing what you committed as a coach to do, which is to help people, right? If you guys have that physical proof, I am helping people. That, you guys, is more motivating and more rewarding than anything else in this business. Do you not agree that getting someone transformation results is more motivating than almost anything else in our business. Like this business is getting results and sharing results. Like Rob always says, you know, that's really where we're motivated, by getting people those transformations. And I think the way that you guys create more exposure, the way that you create a path in order to do that is through building your rank, hitting Success Club, being committed to those things, because those are the things that bring customers in, that bring coaches in, which whether you're working on a customer transformation or one of your coaches transforming their life, you're helping people change their lives on either level. And I think having confidence in that when you invite people to the coaching opportunity, right, and saying, I'm going to change their life, and feeling confident that you can, and you're confident because you're doing it yourself, right? My team is called Team Lift, and our mantra is lift your life, lift others, okay? It's just that same concept of the airplane. You have to put your oxygen mask on first and then help other people. It's the exact same thing with rank, okay? You have to be able and willing to do those hard things so that you can even get people through that process themselves. Like when your coach comes to you and says, I want to be 5-star and elite, but you never move past Emerald, how are you going to help them do that, right? It's a much different process once you've done it yourself. I got you, girl. I can help you. I've done this. I know what obstacles you're going to face. I can mentally get you over this. Come on, guy, let's get going. Like there's just a different confidence in the way that you train your coaches, that you tell them and show them how to set their goals. So it's a very important task for you guys to really master in your business. There are very few business building activities with coaching. Success Club is one, rank is one, and what's the most important one? Inviting. If you guys can master those 3 things, you can help your coaches change their lives, not just your customers changing your lives. And I want you guys to just really think about that as just like your transformation photo, your physical transformation, you got that before and after photo, right? And you use that story and you share those results to motivate and empower other people to do the same. It's exactly the same with your coaching, except for your before photo is who you are when you started, and your after photo is all of these things that you're promising to commit to, that you're accomplishing. Your rank, Success Club every month, your income building, right? Your impact building. That's your after photo. That's what you teach. That's how you empower. That's how you recognize what's going on in your business. So just bringing it all into a very well-rounded kind of thing is important. So I'm going to open it up and let you guys ask any questions, or Chelsea, if you have any questions, I have some minutes for you.
I was going to come over and babysit for you, so that you don't go there and take you out to dinner, was one of the greatest calls, definitely one of the greatest calls that we have ever had. And everybody's just really excited. I need every single person on my team to hear this, because I know that, and it's what I love about you, you have such a refreshing perspective of coaching. And I think for so many people, when you talked about that walk up the mountain, you were running from day one, you were running your race and your family's race. And it wasn't about, oh, but Lindsay Matway does this, and Janelle Summers does this, and Allie Upham does this, and how am I ever going to stand out? You were focused on yourself, and rank, in the way that you described it, isn't about worth. It isn't about credibility. It isn't about anything other than I'm taking time away from hanging out, my other job, time with my family to build my business. I'm going to get the most bang for my buck, bottom line. And I think that's super, super important for people to realize, that's not so much about competition. It's not at all about competition. And it's not about how other people see you. It's about how you see yourself. And I think another really powerful thing that you said, because I think we have a lot of coaches, especially leaders, even Diamond and Star Diamond leaders, who say, well, I don't care about recognition. I don't care about money. I don't care about rank. And they get stuck. But what they don't realize is that their team, there may be 1 or 2 standout coaches that run anyway, like you did and like I did with our upline coaches. But for the most part, the speed of the leader, speed of the pack. And if finances isn't your goal, you can still help 10 people or 100 people pay off debt just because you're well off. So I think that's just super important that you shared. But I have some questions for you. Is that cool?
Yes, I do want to say one thing based on what you just said, because I do think a lot of people say, I don't care about rank, I don't care about club, I don't care about income. Number one, why? Number two, I think that if you say that you don't care about those things, what that says to me is you don't care about helping your coaches. Because otherwise, like, what are you helping your coaches do? They could just be customers, right? You became a coach and you're signing up coaches so you can help them change their life financially. But if you tell your coach and they say to you, I want to advance in rank, I want to advance in Success Club, I want to advance in income, but I personally don't care about any of that, you're sending a giant, horrible message because you don't care about that. If you care about helping your coaches, that needs to be something that you can get on board with and care about immediately. That has to change. You cannot have that mentality and help people become successful coaches. It just doesn't work.
I love it. I love it. And it's so crazy because you can apply that to elite too, because, you know, I am guilty, and my old veteran coaches from 2012 can testify that we used to say things like, oh, well, rank doesn't matter. But what we meant was 1 star to 15 star doesn't matter if it's not tied to something like you said. What is your personal goal? What does rank mean to you? It can't be this hollow thing, but when you take a step back, what does elite mean? Elite means that you are helping your new coaches be successful right away. And if you're not going to work toward that, I mean, it's not required to be a great coach, but I don't know, the way that
it's proof. It's your proof. It's your physical proof that you are creating an impact. And I think for me, if I can't see that I'm helping my new coaches, if I can't see that I'm helping my customers, I don't know what the freak I'm doing, right? Mm-hmm. So when I look at my reports and I say this many people hit Success Club, this many people hit Business Starter, this many people hit Team Builder, to me, that's physical proof that the effort and the work that I'm putting in is working. If they're not hitting it, then I'm not doing something right and I have to fix it. So again, it all just comes down to why. There is always a reason why. With elite, that's exactly right. It means that you, if nothing else for me, elite means that you are committed every day to finding new people to help, right? Not just sticking with the same people that you've had for 6 months, but you're actively out there pursuing change. And I think that that's huge.
That's awesome. Cool. So let me ask you this. As a shy person, how do you overcome your introverted nature when it comes to inviting?
So this is kind of embarrassing, but I kind of like have an alter ego, like Coach Jace. And the reason why, like, I've never changed that, because I know people are like, don't say coach in your name or whatever. I like go into another place. Like when it's just me and myself, like I'm different. When I'm working for other people, when I have a mission and a plan, I'm a different person. Like, so when I see my name, when I see that title, I almost take on a different persona. So when I was brand new, I was extremely introverted. And I literally, my coach said, again, one thing to me on my GSR call, because I said to him, I haven't been coaching very long. I'm only an active status coach. I don't have any transformations. I don't have any customers yet. Like, who's going to want me to coach them? And he said, just come off like you're a 15-star diamond coach, because nobody knows the difference. And so what I did was I adopted that mentality and I just pretended. I faked it till I made it. And I just started pretending to be the person that I wanted to be right now, instead of working towards that person, right? I just started to pretend to be that person. And when you do that, you get there a lot faster. And it was a lot easier for me to kind of go into that alter ego and like be the person I wanted to be right then. And then I just eventually became that person.
That's so funny. It's so good. And I remember when I first saw you with that leadership, or probably, I think it was at leadership a few years back. And you had talked to Rob for a while, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's Coach Jace. Like, I follow her on Instagram. She's so like intense and no excuses. And I loved your posts. And then I got to know you. And I was like, side that's like quirky and shy and down to earth and so normal, and like I want to be her friend and I also want to be her, and that's kind of what that balance is step. So I can see it and I can attest to it, and I think a lot of coaches can benefit. Conversely, how do you keep yourself in a hobbit's hole when it comes to, I know Allie talks about this a lot, staying in your lane, putting your blinders on, focusing on your race? How do you stay in that place and not get distracted by other people?
For me, it's pretty easy, and it's always been the same since I started, because I came into this business very affected by comparison. Like my whole life, I'd just done that. I think that's a natural thing for most people, but I had a serious affliction with this. And so when I started coaching, and still to this day, like I tell Allie and Chelsea all the time, I don't freaking know who's in the top 10. Like I don't know like anybody, because I'm focused on my team, my goals, and what I'm trying to do. And I almost feel like sometimes if I go too far outside of myself, then I lose a little piece of myself. And so I'm always trying to protect that. I'm trying to really not create barriers, but just really protect my own my own integrity and my vision. Like I feel like my vision is strong enough and good enough. I don't need it to be affected in a negative way. And so I learned very early on that, and I teach this with all my coaches, I don't care what you have to do, even if it's your own mom, if you need to keep them out of this space in order for you to be uninhibited, do it. So for the first year and a half, Mike, my husband, wasn't even on my coaching Facebook account. And it was just purely because I wanted to be able to heal myself through coaching because of what I was going through and help people uninhibited without the judgment of anybody else. So I laser focus in on my coaches and my goals and my own personal progress. And if I'm having a really great day, or if I'm feeling like I need something more, those are the days that I venture out and I look in the wall and I look in, these other places. But I try and build genuine relationships with people that are like me, like Chelsea, like Allie, who really help uplift you, right? And add to your business and add to what you're trying to do instead of take it away. And I think, too, a lot of people get hung up and waste a lot of time looking at what everybody else is doing. Again, at the end of the day, what value does it have for you to spend hours thinking about Lindsay Matway and her giant organization? Nothing. That adds zero value to your life, to your goals, to your team. Like it just has no value. So again, focusing on, does this have value? Am I adding productive work to my schedule today? Am I getting the most buck for my bang? Like, am I really doing things that are going to help me hit my goal? And I think it's easier to kind of stay in your hobbit hole than it is to venture out. It's a lot scarier to venture out. So you just have to find your own balance with that and cut stuff out. And my very simple rule is, if you feel inhibited in any way with any specific thing, remove it.
That's so good. And I am the same way. I was actually saying that to Rob yesterday. I feel so watered down when I look at other people's stuff, and sometimes I need it. And I use the analogy of like when you're merging from lane to lane, you can glance quick. Yeah. If you need to see what's going on over here or over there, you can do a quick glance. But if you just keep staring at what someone else is doing, you're gonna crash. So you do kind of need to like look at what other people are doing just to get your bearings or maybe fresh ideas and change lanes. But ultimately, if you just keep your eye on somebody else, you're going to crash into a guardrail. And I think that's such great advice, just to block out anybody that makes you not feel creative or feel like you're not good enough or whatever. So what is your biggest tip for someone that struggles with inconsistency? Because I think a lot of coaches got convicted today. Like I show up once a month in our team page, or I invite by accident, when someone asks me, or I push play, 3 times a week instead of 5. What is your biggest tip for being more consistent?
So I have thought a lot about this year because it's a serious what's the word? Not disease. It's a serious problem in our organization. Like, I think a lot of coaches solve this with, here's a daily to-do tracker, here's a focus sheet, here's this. And I think that that's the wrong approach. What I feel like is happening with people who have a really hard lack of consistency is your vision. You either don't have one or it's not strong enough. So my advice would be, if you're struggling with consistency, is to figure out why the freak you're doing this. And really why you're doing this. For me, it's very, very simple. And it's not rank, it's not building my organization, it wasn't even paying off that 6-figure debt. At the end of the day, what it really came down to was I was extremely affected, like I told you about, seriously depressed, and I just wanted to make people feel better after they left me. So for me, that carries me through everything. That's why I do everything that I do. I drive every day, I do my workouts every day, I post every day, I teach my team every day, because I want people to be better. I want to be that positive influence in their life that I didn't have, right? So your vision doesn't always have to be like, I want to be this 15-star diamond coach. It just has to be something that really speaks to your heart, because that's really what's going to drive you every day. And getting more in tune with sort of who you are as a person and what you need in order to be happy is going to help you be consistent in all of the things you have to do in order to get to do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. That's so good. And I think that, would you say that like therapy or personal development and like getting real with yourself, I think a lot of people don't even know what they want out of life because they have so many blocks up and they have so many walls up, even for themselves, to say like, this is what my past was like, or this is what I'm feeling right now. I think there are a lot of numb coaches out there.
I think that if you're numb, that's really what you need to address. How can I not be numb anymore? Right? What happens? Like, why did I get this way? Was I always this way in my life? For me, like, regardless of what situation I was in, I knew that I wasn't meant to be like that. And just that simple recognition of, I know I'm not in a good place, and making the conscious effort to get out of it, I think is a really big step. I think that, honestly, you guys, consistency is what's going to heal that from you. If you can learn to trust yourself, that when you say something, you actually do it, guys, you don't look for that trust in anyone else after that, because it doesn't freaking matter. You trust yourself, right? You can get it done regardless of what anybody else is doing. And right now, that's not even the case. So that's really what consistency is just making a conscious effort to trust yourself, to be like, you know what, I'm done. And the more consistent you are, the more you move out of that bad place, because you're progressing. To me, like, being in hell would be being in a place where there was no progression at all. Like, that's what that would mean to me. And so that's basically where I was when I started coaching, and I was at rock bottom, like nowhere left to go. I had no choice but to succeed. I couldn't fail one more time, right? And I think that's like the epitome of rock bottom, when you really come to that realization, like, I can't even fail one more time. There's no further back I can go. Like, there's no, I'm at ground level, like I'm below the ground, I'm at the core of the earth right now, you know, and you just have to start digging yourself out. And I think focusing on something very small, like I did, which was changing your thought process of, I'm going to consciously make an effort to do or think or say something different than I did yesterday. And when those thoughts creep up, you push them out of your mind immediately and tell yourself no. And I did that for probably a solid year. When I would say, Jace, you can't do this. Jace, it's too hard. Jace, you're not a good leader. Jace, you can't hit Success Club. You're horrible at it. I would just push it out of my mind and say, I'm sorry, I'm going to do it anyway. You know what I mean? And I would just like keep failing my way to the top. But what happens with that process is your thoughts become very consistent, right? In a positive way, which your actions start to reflect. So it starts internally, and then it starts to kind of bleed outwards. So I think identifying where you're at and how rock bottom you are, and if you really want to get to rock bottom, or if you want to fix it before you get there, and start doing something with your life, we only really have one, you know?
You are insightful. It's so true. Oh my gosh, I need to watch this like a million times. I feel like we're just on Zoom right now. I think that's why I love you so much, is because I found coaching at the same place where I was like, well, I messed up and made bad choices over and over and over again, and this is where I got. So what if I start making the opposite choice?
Right.
And then it compounds.
And again, you guys, that's what makes you unique. If you're the one that decides to come out of it, you're like 1% in like 1,000,000% that actually can do it. So even just that little challenge alone of, I'm not just going to be like everybody else and waste my life away, but I'm actually going to be the one who is changing, that will build your network and your following and your branding and your marketing more than anything else. That was my sole purpose the first 2 years as a coach, and just literally showing people and using all the people I was bringing in for accountability. I was like running so far from myself that I figured the more people I bring into this, the less chance I have to fail, because all of them know. And so every day I would build, and I was so gung-ho getting more people in and inviting more, because I knew the bigger that it got, the bigger I had to get, and I couldn't go back on it. I couldn't just stop going on Facebook and shut down my account when I had thousands of people relying on me, you know? And I think building that accountability through coaching is huge.
Perfect segue. Just two more questions, and thank you so much for answering these. This is just such a good conversation. What you said, the bigger I get, or the bigger it gets, the bigger I have to get. Yeah. I think that's a huge reason why people don't go for emerald and go for diamond, is they see it as, I am afraid to be a leader. I am afraid to sponsor someone else. I am afraid to fail. I am afraid to let somebody down. And that the responsibility is going to change somewhat once you sponsor your first coach. And just tell me if you have a different mindset on this. When you sponsor your first coach, that's when things change. You have someone underneath you. When you have your first customer, that's when things change. But more people, like you said, it's just more accountability. You stay in phase one, you do personal development, you post in your groups. It's not that much of a difference. What would you say to somebody that's fearful of their own success and their own promotion in rank?
I think that is like me in a nutshell. Like, I was horribly afraid of success. I've never been afraid of failure. I've always been afraid of success because, again, I'm super introverted. I don't like that Jace is on the forefront. Like, that makes me uncomfortable. But what I've learned is when I'm uncomfortable, that's when I feel I'm getting bigger. Like, that's when I feel like I'm progressing and moving forward. And so if I'm not uncomfortable, then I'm not doing something right. I think that success is uncomfortable. I think people think that when you're succeeding, you're like in this super happy place and you're like, this is amazing. It's not. It's not like that. You're very uncomfortable. You feel very anxious. And I think that is really what shocks people, because you get your first coach and you're like, oh my gosh, I made this huge accomplishment. I should feel like so good about this. But instead, you're feeling anxious. You're feeling a huge responsibility. You're feeling like, oh my gosh, look at all my flaws. I can't help somebody else. Like, immediately you're internalizing. It's almost like when you have kids and you're like, why did I have children? This is like the worst time of my life, because now I realize how horrible of a person I am, and I am like literally influencing this person's whole entire life, right? It's kind of the same concept when you're a coach and you like have your little baby coach that you just sign up. And I will say, like, you will not overcome that fear of success without action and just powering through at every single step. My husband always says you got to work through it till you push through it. And then at the end of the day, like, that's really what it is. You work through it till you push through it. And I think for me, what helped me was really taking the time to lay out a process. Even when I was a brand new coach, if I have a plan for people in my mind, you feel more confident. The expectation is gone. You feel less anxiety. So even for my customers, I have a very specific plan that I lay out to them the second they're one of my people. You know what I mean? And I think if you take 5 seconds and write down a 5-step process, if you're a brand new coach or a 15-star diamond coach, if you've got a little checklist, and I'll give you an example for my customers. My goal with them is to network, to make a meaningful connection, to invite them, right? To get them into a structured program so that I have something to coach them through. And our goal is that before and after photo. That's it. That's my process. And then at that point, the next step is for them to take that and share it with somebody else. So when they come into my business, that's in my welcome letter. Here's what we're going to do. And it's all laid out. And then I'm going to ask you, I want you to pay this forward to somebody else. Does it mean they have to become a coach? No. But they're still going to try and find somebody else to motivate with their own results. So just having that lockdown process, you can always know where every person is in that process. And it's the same with your coaches. I'm going to send you a letter. I'm going to plug you in this group, and we're going to talk every day. It can be that simple. And you guys, if you get good at asking your question or your coach this one question, it will change your whole life. Okay? Ask them often, what obstacle are you facing in your business right now? Because let me tell you, if you try and guess what they're struggling with, if you try and assume what they're struggling with based on what you personally have gone through, you're going to lose them. Okay? Your goal as a coach and a mentor is to help them overcome their obstacles, not yours. So if you can get really good at saying, what obstacles are you facing? Guess what? They're going to tell you. And you can have a 5-minute conversation to help them over the obstacle instead of having them dwell on it for 6 months because you're afraid to ask. Just ask them. Get really good at that in your one-on-ones. When you're a brand new coach with your very first coach, your very first call, lay out the expectation of how the training goes and then do a follow-up call with them for 15 minutes a week and ask them that one question. And I promise you, your coaches will onboard so much stronger.
Oh my gosh. Were you the one that said at Super Saturday, like a great follow-up phrase is, hey, catch me up. How have you been? Was that you?
Yeah.
You are so talented at that. It's so casual and direct, but like warm at the same time.
So Chelsea's talking about, my favorite follow-up. This is what I love because people how many times have you guys been trying to sell somebody a program or you're right in the middle of the heat of the conversation where they're going to buy and then they just disappear forever. And you're like, well, that's awkward. How do I come back and be like, did you buy it? That is the number one thing. So what I do is I have this down to a T. I wait 24 hours and then I message them and I say, hey, I'm so sorry. I got busy. I'm sorry I didn't follow up with you yesterday. I didn't forget about you. Tell me where we left off. Catch me up. Super simple because it puts all the responsibility of them not responding on you and you take that angst away from them and they'll respond to you genuinely. And either the conversation will start over and you'll be back at square one or they'll be like, I'm so sorry, I forgot, or I'm going to buy this now or whatever. And literally, you guys, you can use that phrase again and again and again. If they fall off again, use it again in another 24 hours. And then if they don't respond, then add them to your pipeline list and just keep working. But
and for your coaches too, that will just disappear.
Yeah.
So, okay, last question. Okay. What do you do when you have coaches underneath you? You know how to sponsor coaches, but your coaches say they want emerald or say they want diamond and they don't do anything.
And they don't want it. It's really simple. I have a 5 and 5 rule. So 5% of your coaches are going to be new, right? And fall into the new category where you have to teach them and they're growing and they're learning. And then you have a 5% who are rocking and rolling like you are, who are running straight up the mountain, right? The other 90% are everybody else in limbo. And number one, you need to identify where you are. Are you new? Are you still learning? Or are you on your run up the mountain? Or are you somewhere in between? And I think if you can categorize your coaches that way in your mind, it will help you work with them a little bit easier and say, because you guys, your focus needs to be on that 5% and that 5%. Everybody in the middle, they can choose at any point to go into that top 5%. Right? At any point, they have the tools at that point because they've already been in their 5% as a new coach. They've already learned all the basics. it's up to them to decide if they want to move from that point. So if they're telling you, again, it comes down to vision. If they're telling you they want all this stuff, then you need to say, why aren't you hitting it? Why haven't you reached this goal, right? And really and dive into it. Why don't you just ask them, what obstacles are you facing that are keeping you from hitting this emerald rank? Because we've set the date 500,000 times. You know how to do this. You have the tools. What is the obstacle that's holding you back? And the second question to that is, what are you doing to fix it? Right? Because I think as sponsors, we take that responsibility on as ourselves and we say, what am I not doing? What can I do more? How can I give her this? How can I give him more tools? How can I do all of these things when it has nothing to do with us? Again, we're assuming that it's our fault, right? And the more you guys can help people self-realize, the more self-growth they're going to have. So you can do that by asking questions and helping them realize themselves why they aren't progressing, why they're not moving forward, why they aren't hitting that goal. And it's not on you to call them out on it. You're their coach, you're their mentor, you're there to help them progress. So if they're not progressing, call them out on it. Ask them why.
Oh, so good. Thank you so much. I have to tell you, by the way, that someone said that I love that she channels Coach Jace. Reminds me straight up of Beyonce, hashtag Sasha Fierce. And then someone else said, she's on freaking fire. No, she is fire. Thank you so much for an hour and 10 minutes of your time. I'm blown away. I have had so many light bulb moments. I am so grateful that I get to have lunch or brunch with you and Allie whenever I want because you make me better. And I know this, I mean, you have such a gift and such a talent, and I'm so eternally grateful for you taking time away from your business and your family to share with us. So I will pay back the favor whenever you like.
On June 16th. I already set it up with Rob.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jace. I really appreciate it. And thanks, guys, for getting on and taking notes. I've rewatched this call a million times. It's gold.